Hey y'all, my name is Christian. I'm a millennial, and this is the Millennial Mind. Millennials get a bad rap for being lazy, non productive members of society. We also get told that our opinions are warped and don't matter. This podcast is designed to express a point of view on the world as a whole, but from a millennial's perspective. I will talk about love, current events, pretty much everything that comes to mind. Come join me on this journey on speaking my mind, and I would love for you to speak your mind as well. Hey y'all, welcome to another episode of The Millennial Mind. Thank you so much for joining me on this journey of speaking my mind, and I hope that all of you are speaking your mind as well. First of all, you guys are going to have to forgive me for missing last week. I usually do not miss. I haven't missed since I started this podcast in September of last year. But this week was my birthday. Actually, on Monday, it was my birthday. So let's just say I was celebrating early. But this past Monday, I did turn 30 years old. Yay! Dirty 30, dirty 30. So I know I've lived 3 decades, one score and 10, all that. It's definitely a milestone, and I'm certainly thrilled and happy to see what this decade is going to bring. As I turned 30, I was thinking about things that I have learned during the past 30 years of my life, and I would like to share them with you all. So, this is actually going to be a two-part series. I'm going to um, go over 30 things that I learned at 30. I'm going to go over 15 today and then 15 on next week. So I hope that you guys enjoy. Okay, so first thing that I learned being 30, I cannot live life without God. God is the center of everything that I do. I can't live without God. I can't think without God. I can't talk without God. Everything that I am, everything that I do, everything that I see, everything that I hear is because of Jesus Christ. I live because of Him. I am living because of Him. If you guys haven't heard my cancer survivor story, make sure that you listen to that episode. But I really should not be alive today. I really should be 6 feet under, maggots eating my flesh. I was not supposed to be alive, but I am alive because God has a purpose and a plan for my life. And I'm so thankful for that. And starting, really, I should have been starting this beforehand, but starting now, I want to live each and every day intentionally because I really don't know how much longer I have. No one knows how much longer they have. And what a shame it will be to go through life and pass away and realize that you haven't done what you wanted to do, and most importantly that you didn't include God in the mix. So every day I want to make sure that I'm living the way I'm supposed to, according to God's word, and living according to His purpose. Number two, life is precious. Oh my gosh, I have been to so many funerals. Um, Up until now, it's a shame. When I hear people that say, like, oh, I haven't really been to any funerals, I'm like, what? Like, And it's a blessing, and I'm pretty envious of those people. But the age that I remember my first funeral was when I was 3, and it was my grandfather's funeral. And from 3 up until 30, I've been to too many funerals to count, young, old, in between. And each funeral that I go to just makes me even more and more aware of life and just how precious it is, how fragile it is. You really don't know what life is going to bring. You could be here today, gone tomorrow. But because life is so precious, and this is something that I was talking about on my previous point, because life is so precious, I want to make sure that I live each day intentionally. Live each day doing what I love, doing what I want to do, not being frustrated, not being angry at people, not holding grudges, because life is too short. We really don't have time for any of that. Like that lady say, I don't have time for that. She was telling the truth. She was speaking a whole word. We were actually laughing at her. But it's true. We really don't have time for all of this chaos and evil and madness in the world. The only thing that we do have time for is living our lives to the best of our ability. And that's all that we should be focusing on. Okay, number 3, appreciate people while they are present in this life. Oh my gosh. If I could go back in time and just give people flowers while they were living, I would do that. I think about my grandparents a lot. Um, all of my grandparents were pretty much gone by the age of 16. But one of my grandparents, or my last grandparent that passed away, she was my grandmother, my father's mother. She passed away of cancer. And I was old enough to kind of understand the importance of my grandma, but still young enough to just not really grasp the importance of having my grandmother around. But I don't really think I appreciated her like I was supposed to, or like I should have. I should have been up under her, getting all of her wisdom, all of her knowledge on life, and everything that she's gone through, and I just didn't. I was more annoyed that she was watching game shows all the time and taking over the television when I wanted to watch it. But if only I could go back in time and ask my grandmother these pivotal questions that I probably would have asked her if she was here today, to get her perspective on certain things. And her being a traditionalist of a traditionalist generation, just getting her perspective on things as they are now with COVID-19, with all of these police brutality cases, just everything that's going on. I would have loved to get her perspective. But she's gone, and I wish I just would have appreciated her as well as others while they were living. Moving forward, I certainly do not want to take my loved ones for granted, and that's something that I'm going to work towards every day. Number 4, hard work sometimes does not pay off. And let me kind of explain where I'm going here. So, as a child, and I'm sure all of you listeners have heard this as a child too, you work hard, you're going to reap good rewards. Work hard, you're going to get some good results. Sometimes that may not always be the case, I learned. I went through school, I went through college, even before college. Let's start at elementary school. Elementary school, high school, college, law school, I worked hard. I worked my behind off to get to where I'm at today. Even after I graduated law school, eventually passed the bar, and um, obtained my first real job, I'll say. I worked hard. I've yet to see the benefits of that work. And maybe that's something that will come in the future. And you know what? Let me rephrase this point. I would say hard work sometimes does not pay off right away. That's better. Um, I've yet to see the progress of or the results of the hard work that I've put in. It's been a lot of hard work and little to no play. It's been a lot of hard work, but not a lot of money to show for the hard work. It's just been hard, just hard, hard, hard. And I'm like, okay, when is it going to be my turn to reap the benefits of all of this hard work that I'm getting? I'm sure it's coming, but sometimes it can be kind of discouraging. So I have to continue to encourage myself that I am on the right track and that the payoff is coming and it may be coming quicker than I think. Number 5, family is important. Yes, family is so important. Family is just everything. I've come to appreciate, especially my parents, with them getting older and them, with me not being in underneath their roof anymore. I've come to have a different appreciation for my parents. Not only did they take time to raise me in the right way, but now as parents, once me and my brother left the home, they had to switch gears and stop being parents or stop parenting or raising, I should say. And now they're more of advisors. And I really do appreciate them in this role. It's a different dynamic, it's a different relationship. And I know this is something that my parents are constantly working at because sometimes they do forget that they have adult children. But I think they're getting the hang of being advisors, and I think they enjoy it now, just seeing the fruits of their labor. But I've come to realize that my parents, I only have them for a short amount of time. It's going to be temporary. I know it is. And it's hard to think like that, but it's true. And I just want to make sure that I acknowledge and appreciate their worth in my life. Also, my sibling, my brother, he's the only sibling that I have. And I'm grateful for him, and I definitely don't take him for granted. Even though he lives in another state, I try to stay in contact with him as much as I can. My future sister in law, my brother's girlfriend, I appreciate her because she brought me my niece and my nephew, which is just gold for me. So she's someone that I appreciate as well and who I hold um, in high esteem. And of course, I can't forget my husband. My husband is my ride or die, my best friend, my partner in crime, just everything. And he is certainly someone that I can't imagine life without him. And I appreciate every time I get to wake up to his wonderful face. So, yes, family is important and it's something that I don't want to take for granted. Moving right along, number 6. The person you're supposed to be with may not be on your list. Whoa, speaking of husband. So, my husband, he was definitely not on my list as far as who I wanted in a man. I wanted somebody who was tall, over 6 feet, because I'm I think I'm average height. I may be a little bit tall. I'm 5'6 3/4". I just say that I'm 5'7" because it's easier. I'm a little bit taller as a girl, So I wanted a tall man so that when I wear heels, which I love to do, or pumps, my spouse, my potential spouse, would be taller than me. Um, I also wanted someone who loved God, who was a Christian, who would make me laugh, who was kind, smart. I didn't want anyone who was an attorney or someone who was a doctor or anything similar. I wanted somebody who was I call them blue collar workers. Just someone who I felt like could level me out just in case I get on my high horse. Those were just a few of the items that I had on my list for my husband. My husband met all of that pretty much except a couple. One of those being he wasn't that much more taller than me. I am 5'6 3/4". My husband is about five. I want to say he's 5'9". Not that much taller than me. And when I wear heels, sometimes I'm taller than him. But my husband is the best person for me. I can't imagine anyone else who could deal with me except him. And he does a really good job. He deals with all my foolishness. So it's amazing that he met pretty much all of my list, all of the items on my list except a couple. But I wonder if I would have met somebody who was taller than me. Like would they have met all of the other items on my list? I don't know. And you know what? I have dated someone who was taller than me, and he did not meet any of the items on my list. But he was tall though. So sometimes it just doesn't work out. But my husband is certainly the best for me, but he wasn't the person that I originally had in mind. So it's just crazy how life works sometimes. Number 7, traveling is key to a fulfilling life. Okay, so at one point in my life, I always thought that gifts were, the key. I always wanted good gifts. I could really care less about memories. But as I got older, and I would say probably in my 20s is when I thought, I want to make memories. Gifts are okay, but they could go away pretty easily, but no one can take my memories away from me. That's something that I could have with me for life. So I started traveling more. I traveled within the United States, traveled outside of the United States, and just experiencing different cultures, experiencing different people, experiencing different ways of life was something that was invaluable. Like, for example, me and my husband, we live in Illinois, of course. We went to Lake Geneva in Wisconsin, which is a small town in Wisconsin. And it was about maybe like an hour or two away from our house. Just that 2 hour drive, complete difference in how they live compared to how we live. Complete difference. And it was eye opening, and it was just amazing to see how these people live life, and they don't live that far from me. It was just eye opening and something that I wanted to continue to do. Like, I feel like I could be a traveler and just not get paid if that was a position. Like, I would love to be a travel blogger. Like, I would do it because I just love to experience different things, different places, different people. It's just something that you can never take for granted. And those memories that you form, it stays with you for the rest of your life, and that's invaluable. So traveling it is really a good thing to do in your life. So if you don't do it, definitely do it. And you don't even have to go far. You can go within your state. You can go outside of your state. You can go outside of your country. Just experience something new. Get out of your normal comfort zone and experience new people, new ways of living, or other ways of living, I should say. It is definitely something that you can appreciate. Number 8, what you do now can affect your future. Yes. So everything that you do builds on your story. It's like a building block to your destiny, or it could be a domino effect in the negative to your destiny. Um, like, for example, I wanted to be an attorney. In order for me to be an attorney, I had to get through college and law school. The grades that I made in college affected how or what law school I went into. The grades that I got in law school affected how I would do on the bar. How I would do on the bar and of course how I did in law school affected how I would be as a practicing attorney. Just everything kind of builds on top of each other. So each day that you live on this earth, be intentional with your decision making. Be intentional with what you do, what you say, because everything that you do, everything that you say impacts your tomorrow. Everything that you do today affects your tomorrow, affects your future. So be cautious and be intentional with every decision that you make because you never know where that decision can take you. It could take you in the positive or it could take you into the negative. Okay, y'all, we are going to take a quick break to hear a word from our sponsor, and then we'll be right back.
This podcast is sponsored by Anchor. Anchor is the easiest way to make a podcast. It gives you everything you need in one place for free, which you can use right from your phone or computer. Creation tools allow you to record and edit your podcast so it sounds great. They'll distribute your podcast for you so it can be heard everywhere, even on platforms such as Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and many more. You can easily make money from your podcast with no minimum listenership. Download the Anchor app today or go to anchor.fm to get started. Once again, you can download the Anchor app, that's ANCHOR, or go to anchor.fm to get started.
Okay, y'all, we are back. So, moving on to number 9. So, the ninth thing that I learned at the age of 30, or in my 30 years of life, is that fear prohibits growth. There have been so many times where I have missed opportunities because I was fearful. I remember when I was at Rich South High School, which is in the suburbs of Chicago. I was in a gospel choir and I had a choir member mate who was in the Soul Children of Chicago. And if you are familiar with gospel music, you know who Walt Whitman and the Soul Children are. Very prominent gospel choir, I would say, in the 90s and 2000s. So we had the opportunity as a choir to sing with their choir for a recording, which was an amazing opportunity. I was told from my choir member mate who was in the choir that Walt Whitman, who was the choir director, was mean and sometimes he could yell at you if you got stuff wrong. I was like, I don't want to do that. I don't have time for that. I don't want to be yelled at. There's no. So I didn't do it. What what I really regret about that is that I didn't try it out for myself. I just depended on what somebody else said. And she very well could have been right, but she very well could have been wrong. It's no telling why he was yelling at certain kids. Maybe, they were playing around or, not doing what they were supposed to do. Just because he yelled at kids didn't necessarily mean that he was going to yell at me. And I missed an opportunity to be on on a CD and on a live recording DVD. And my mom always teases me about that now. Like, really? You missed all of that just because somebody said that he was going to yell at you? You didn't even know if he was going to yell at you. Yes, I know, Mom. But it's no telling what kind of opportunities could have came from that. I don't know. There could have been something, I'm sure. But if I wasn't so fearful, maybe I could have seen what that opportunity would have been. And I promised myself that I would live intentionally, as I said before, and not be scared to do things. Just live my life not in fear, live my life in faith. And that's something that I want to continue to do even in this new decade of life. Number 10. College degrees are not the end all to be all. And you know what? I never thought I would say this, but it's true. I have about 3 degrees. I have um, two Bachelor of Arts in Criminal Justice and Political Science, and then I have my law degree. And I'm not sure that the value of the degrees matches the debt that I've accumulated. It's just so much debt that I have. It's just like out of this world. When people ask me, like, how much debt do I owe back to the government? I tell them that with my debt, I could purchase a 5-bedroom brick house in Illinois with a long driveway that stretches out about a mile. And my house is sitting on about 5 acres of land. And I have a barn with cows and chickens and horses and everything. I have a tennis court, a basketball court in the inside with a swimming pool on the inside and the outside. I just go on and on and on because it's just a lot and it's just too much. And I promised that I would tell my children that it's okay if you don't want to go to college. College isn't for everyone. You may want to do a trade. That's fine. You may want to go into the military. That's fine. You may just want to go out and start working. That's fine. Whatever you're comfortable with doing, that's what you do, as long as you're being productive. But I don't think I'm going to kind of drill into my children that you have to get a college degree because college degrees aren't the end all to be all. I've seen individuals who don't have a college degree that are making bank. I see people who do have college degrees and are living out on the streets. It's a toss up. So whenever I have kids, I want my kids to do whatever they feel comfortable with as long as they're being productive. Number 11. Self-confidence isn't achieved. It's a never-ending test. Ain't this the truth? Over my 30 years of living, I have struggled with confidence in myself, with my self esteem. I thought that I was the ugliest person in the world, which is weird because I had parents who would constantly drill into me that I was beautiful, there was no one like me, I am beautiful inside and out. But At the time, it didn't matter what they said because I didn't believe it myself. I remember looking in the mirror telling myself, Christian, you're just ugly. You're just ugly, ugly, ugly. I would write in my diary, Christian, you're just ugly, 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 ugly. I just hate myself. I just hate myself. And that continued over and over and over again in my life, primarily in my teenage years, and I would say my early 20s as well. My self esteem just wasn't there. And it showed. It showed in the way I dressed. It showed in the way I acted. It showed in the way I talked. I just didn't have any confidence in myself. But as soon as I got an inkling, as soon as I got an inkling as to who I was as a person, and that beauty is not always on the outside, it comes from the inside out. That's what gave me my kryptonite. But I discovered that that was something that I had to continuously work towards. Because even when I did have that epiphany, after I had that epiphany, I still had days where I was struggling, where I was like, Christian, I don't know if I'm feeling myself today. But I had to constantly make affirmations and say, Christian, you are beautiful. Christian, you are beautiful on the outside. Christian, you are beautiful on the inside. You are smart. You are kind. You are important. Like on the help. You are all of those things. And that's something that I have to tell myself on a daily. Because sometimes people may come at you and say, you know what, you're not the prettiest thing that I see. But you know what? Their opinion doesn't matter. You know why? Because they're not you. They don't affirm what you are. You do. You have that power. We need to stop giving that power to other people. Stop giving people the right to affirm whether or not we are worthy. That is wrong. That is a lie that we tell ourselves. Their opinion does not matter. Our opinion matters as to what we think about ourselves, what we believe about ourselves. As soon as we take that power back for ourselves, how much better would this world be for everyone? And that's something that I learned, and that's something that I'm constantly working towards. It's just that self esteem, that self confidence. I want that to be strong and stronger every single day that I live. Okay, number 12. Therapy and faith can coexist. And you know what? I'm not going to go into my whole soapbox about this because I did do a podcast episode on therapy, so make sure that you listen to that. But basically, in the Bible, it says faith without works is dead, meaning that it's okay for you to believe, but if you don't have any action behind your belief, your faith is void. Your belief is void. So, in order for your faith to produce results, you got to have some action behind it. I feel like that's the same thing goes with your mental health. I grew up in the church, and of course, a lot of times they taught you to pray your problems away, fast your problems away, which is good. But that needs to be done in conjunction with some work on your end, like going to a doctor, going to a therapist. It's okay to go to a therapist. Going to a therapist doesn't mean that you are crazy. Going to a therapist does not say that you don't believe in God. Going to a therapist is saying that you do believe in God, that you do believe that God will work through doctors and counselors and therapists in order to give you the help that you need. It is critical. The Lord didn't give these people knowledge for nothing. He gave these people knowledge. It didn't just come from thin air. He gave it to these people. So why aren't we using it? Why aren't we using it? So yes, faith and therapy can coexist. They go hand in hand. Okay, three more, at least for this part. Number 13, friends that you may have started out with may not continue on the journey with you. Oh, this is a big one. During my 30 years of life, I thought I had some good friends. I thought some of my friends were going to be ride or die, just be with me to the very end. And that wasn't the case. I have lost some friends. I've lost plenty of friends. I've lost more than I've gained. I have a small circle right now, a small circle of friends that I talk to. And you know what? I'm okay with that because these are the friends that have been predestined to walk with me on this journey that I'm on. And these friends that I have, they're a good crop of friends. I'll have to say that. They are a good batch of friends, and I wouldn't trade them for anything. But it seems like every decade I'm losing friends. Um, and I know it doesn't have anything to do with me. I just know that some of these friends are seasonal. And like Tyler Perry said, like our problem is when we try to make seasonal friends lifetime friends. And that's where the problem arises. I had to learn how to let people go who serve their purpose for that particular season in my life. And it hurt. It hurt so bad. But it was something that I had to go through in order to continue the journey that I was on. And I know that God will bless me with new friends, with people that are going to be in my corner, who's going to support me, who's not going to be jealous, who's not going to be envious. I know He is, but I just have to trust the process. Okay, number 14. Marriage is hard work. You know what? I would hear this a lot that marriage is hard work. And I would think about it. I'm like, why is marriage such hard work? Like, if it's that much work, I can do bad by myself. I don't have to get married. But the work isn't necessarily dealing with the other person, it's dealing with yourself. I thought that I was a wonderful person until I got married. When I got married, I found out how much of a devil I really was. Like I had some major issues. And I'm thinking, I'm really this crazy? I'm really this bad? Like it took my husband to bring this out of me? So marriage is hard work because you're constantly working on yourself. You're constantly working on your own demons. Because in marriage, you have to be not selfish. And being not selfish is hard. It is hard because you always want to be right. You always want to be the winner of the argument. You always want to do things better than your spouse. But if you continue with that mindset, you won't be married anymore. Your marriage will lose. And at one point earlier on in my marriage, and even now, is something that I'm working on. I will always try to win arguments with my husband, always try to come out on top. But why am I always trying to come out on top when we're supposed to be a team? We work together. So if I'm trying to come out on top over my teammate, I'm losing. I'm essentially losing because our team isn't going where it's supposed to go. So if I'm out on top, that means I'm really on the bottom because our team isn't progressing because I'm acting stupid and selfish. Like they said, there's no I in team. There really isn't. If you continue with the I, we are not going to make it. That's basically how it goes. So, marriage is constantly you working on yourself, and that is hard and difficult. It's doable, but at times it can be difficult. Number 15. If you don't challenge yourself, there will be no change. This is something that I actually learned from my physical trainer, my personal trainer. She always says, if you don't challenge yourself, you will not change. I'm like, okay. And I've noticed that when I get through an obstacle, when I get through something difficult, and I may stumble a little bit, but I come out on top, it's a victory. It's more of a victory than when I do achieve something that was pretty easy to achieve. Because I know that if I can achieve something difficult, the next obstacle that I go through, I can achieve that and again and again and again and again. So, yes, I enjoy the challenges. I may not enjoy the process of the challenge, but I know at the end it's going to better me, and that's where I grow. And that's what I want to continue to do is grow. In this new decade, I want there to be growth. And that's something that I am looking forward to. So that is part one, 15 things that I have learned at the age of 30 or by the age of 30. What have you learned at the age that you are at? Let me know. Send me an email at mindofmillennials@gmail.com. You can also leave a comment on our Facebook page, The Millennial Mind, or our Instagram page, The_Millennial Mind. And of course, I'm going to do part two of this series next week, so make sure you listen out for that. Of course, I always have a quote for you guys. I'm here for the quotes. And this quote is by Jersey Gregory. And he says, hard choices, easy life. Easy choices, hard life. If that ain't the truth. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. And until next time, I will talk to you soon.